This is a spoiler-free review for the Unlock Escape Adventures box set. This is the first in the 3-pack set that Unlock released. It comes with 3 missions: the Formula, Squeak and Sausage, and the Island of Dr. Gorse. We finished playing this box set recently. We had a really good time playing through the box set. I will just give a brief spoiler-free review of how Unlock works, give some thoughts on the games, and I will finish up with closing thoughts. So when you open the box, you are presented with the game in 3 different decks. You also get this tutorial deck. It is included with all of the Unlock games, and it gives you a brief introduction on how the game plays and how it gets integrated with the app. So within each of the box sets, there is 3 of the games. Usually there is a difficulty 1, difficulty 2, and difficulty 3. With this box set, the first 2 missions are difficulty 2, and the third is the Island of Dr. Gorse, which is difficulty 3. Usually the difficulty levels refer to the amount of cards that will be on the table at any one time. So the level 1 difficulties, they tend to have cards of a lesser amount so that you're not getting caught up with red herrings or trying to put things together that shouldn't actually be put together. The mission 2 increases the amount of cards you have, and then the level 3 will have a higher level of number of cards on the table. It doesn't always necessarily refer to how difficult the actual solutions within the games are going to be. So the formula is set up in with this story. The department is concerned by the lack of recent reports from Dr. Hoffman, and you need to go and try and figure out what's going on with him and then rescue the formula that he was working on. The second mission is the introduction of what will be a returning character, but he pops up here for the first time. It's Professor No Side. So you know he has an evil plan. You're slipping into his headquarters to prevent it, and while you're there you get trapped. And the third mission that's included in this box set is the Island of Dr. Gorse. And the story set up for this is the day started off well. After weeks of hesitation, you're finally off to his island and you're playing Crashlands, and you need to figure out what you are going to do. So I know particularly one of the things that I have seen online about the Island of Dr. Gorse that people dislike is that it introduces a mechanic where it splits the group in 2. And when myself and my partner were playing through the game, we actually found that we liked that part of it, and it created a new dynamic. It might be a little bit tricky for people as a very first box to play, because if everybody who is playing the game is not really familiar with how the rules of the game actually work, then if you split the group in 2 and one of the groups ends up with people who don't understand how to operate the app or how to work through the puzzles, they might find it a little bit difficult to be on their own. But we actually found that it was quite good because we'd played a few games before we had played this one. There was a couple of tricky visual puzzles in the Island of Dr. Gorse that we found we had kind of struggled with. And there was also a weird thing happened towards the end of the game where we had solved what we thought was the last puzzle and entered that code into the app, and the app told us, congratulations, you've escaped. And it turns out that when we flipped over the rest of the cards to make sure that they were all penalty cards that we had missed, there was 2 extra cards that we hadn't got to solve. And when I looked up online, other people said this has happened to them within the app as well. So I'm not 100% sure when the app decides that it's going to give you congratulations, you've escaped, or let you finish off the rest of the mission. So once we realized where we were at, we kind of reset the app, put ourselves back to that point in the game, and played through what we needed to do to finish off the game. they kind of, when you open the app and pick the mission that you are going to play, it gives you a time limit for all of the missions. And based on the amount of cards that are in it and how long they think it should take you to play, they'll give you a time frame. So each of the missions in this box should take 60 minutes. It took us about 75 minutes to do the island of Dr. Gorse. As I say, we missed that puzzle at the end, and then there was just a couple of bits that just didn't click with us. I think one of the things that we have noticed from playing this box set particularly, but from a couple of the other unlocks we've done, is that the puzzles are always structured in such a way that there can be word games, number games, kind of spatial awareness, physically manipulating the cards. There's such a variety of puzzles within the games that you will need different brain types and different puzzle solving types to be involved. So while some people might be better suited to puzzles than others, there's always enough puzzles for different people to be able to put things together. I think probably because how the island of Dr. Gorse started off, I think that was possibly our favorite one, that it like had split the group in two, and we had kind of enjoyed that. It added a kind of a new twist to the escape room thing that we hadn't experienced with any of the unlocks we had done previously. I think in terms of a starting mission from this box, I think Sausage and Squeak is quite a good starting one. It's kind of a bit more fun. Dr. No Side is kind of your classic comedic villain, and the mission that you're working your way through kind of leans into that a little bit. So while in the island of Dr. Gorse, you are trying to crack codes based on ancient civilizations, in Sausage and Squeak, at one point you end up in his kitchen and you need to figure out the recipe for the buns that are being baked, because that's going to help you get to the next part. So it's quite a fun introduction to it. That's not to say it's easy, because the difficulty is in putting the clues together and working out where you need to go next. But as an introduction, it's maybe a little bit easier for trying to get newer people to this experience to be able to buy in and have a bit more fun with the game. We did also enjoy the secret formula. It had a different kind of vibe to Sausage and Squeak, maybe slightly closer to the island of Dr. Gorse in terms of being a bit more serious. And the playthrough of that mission, there is a couple of really, really clever puzzles. It's kind of difficult to talk about the puzzles and not give spoilers. So as I said at the start, this is spoiler free, so I'm really not going to give any spoilers to how it works out. And then, as I said, you get this tutorial that talks you through the basic setup for how the games play out. So if this is your very first time coming to Unlock, I will just do a very, very quick run through of how the tutorial works. So you read the mission, tells you you're in an office, you're being interviewed for a job with Unlock. And then you flip over the card, and all of the missions follow a similar type of thing. So you flip over the first card, it's usually a building of some kind or a location of some kind with numbers on it. You search for those numbers, and then numbers will help you figure out the rest of the game. So here you can see you need 11, 42, 35, 69 and 21. So you would flick through your cards, you would find the numbers you want. So we found number 21, we found number 35, we found number 69, we find number 11, and we find number 42. When we're playing the game, we kind of find it useful to put the cards into the locations that match where they are on the map, so that you have a rough idea of how things work. The golden rule in all Unlock games is that you always add a red number and a blue number. So in this instance, we have a key that is a blue number, we have a lock cabinet that is a red number, so you put 11 and 35 together, that gets you 46, so you would go to card 46. You flip that over, it tells you now have unlocked the cabinet, and you can discard the cards that were part of that setup. So we can discard 11 and 35, now we have a lock cabinet. As part of unlocking the cabinet, you can see there in the cabinet there is a number 16. So when a number appears on a card like this, you can then find that number from your deck, So that means we're allowed to take card number 16, and that becomes part of the game that we are playing. We now have this blue number, and it says on the card we can add this to a red number. So we now have the open cabinet, and it says on the card that there are two interesting elements on the card. So the number is 1, and then you can see here on the side of the cabinet there is an image that looks very similar to this card that we have. So when we take this card, it's card number 69. So you go to the app. These green barriered numbers are called machines. So you would go to the machine, you would type in 69, and it would give you this. And then within the game, it tells you that you can click on some of the points. And we know from this one over here that we have a connection in the middle. So within the app, you connect these two here, and then it tells you that you can have a red number that you can add to the electrical wire, and you combine the rest of the puzzles together until you arrive at card 25, and it tells you to discard the cards you use up to this point, and you can add +6 to something. So we add +6 to the TV, that gives us 48. We can then flip over card 48. It gives you a coded number, and then the last two cards that you got are the coded number and the door. And if you notice here, each of the letters has a color, each of the numbers has a color, and when you put those together into the app, the door will open and you will have completed the tutorial. What I will say again for new players, with the tutorial, the jump from the tutorial to the missions is quite big. So the tutorial is literally just to show you that you add a red number to a blue number, and that gets you a new number that you then find in the deck. The level of complexity and number of cards that you use in the rest of the decks is much greater. So just when you complete the tutorial, be prepared for the information that comes at you when you're doing the actual missions is going to be a lot more. That has been the review. I would really recommend this actually as a starting box, particularly because Sausage and Squeak and the formula are relatively good missions. And possibly for somebody starting off, I would maybe say if you got this and a second box, I would maybe leave the island of Dr. Gorse until you've done 4 or 5 of the other levels, just so you can get a handle, and every player can get a handle on how the game works, how the card combining works, the little tricks that they do. As I say, this has a number 16 hidden in the card, but it's not really hidden. Whereas on other cards, the hidden numbers are very hidden. I won't say the logic jumps you need to make, but the little connections between the different things that are happening within the cards is not as straightforward as open the cabinet, find the number. Notice the symbol here on the side of the cabinet, which means we'll use this string to join the 2 dots. It's not always that straightforward, so it's better if the players have more time under their belt with playing the Unlock series to get more enjoyment out of the Dr. Gorse scenario. With that said, I'm going to wrap up the video here. If you liked what you saw, if you would maybe like to see some playthroughs of some of the unlocks, let me know in the comments. I look forward to chatting with everybody. I've really enjoyed starting to get through all the unlock games. I will upload more videos in the future, and until then, I will see you in the next one.